Good. What the hell are you doing here?
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Skallywags. You might be asking yourself, what do you mean, welcome to the show? That ended like 2 years ago. And we haven't seen this guy since the Godzilla King of the Monsters review we did. Well, we have a bit of news. It's something that's still in the works. But yeah, the show will be returning. Sort of.
Sort of.
It's not going to be a 5-day-a-week thing. It is going to be just kind of like a once-a-month kind of deal. We'll be doing some movie reviews. Might do some other stuff every once in a while. Who knows? But we're in the early stages of that, so keep your eyes peeled, because that is something coming. Now, speaking of Godzilla, the reason why we're here, we just got back from seeing Godzilla vs. Kong. Long time in the works here, so we wanted to give our thoughts to you.
Now, caution, spoilers.
There will be spoilers, yes.
If you don't want to,
Well, I think what we'll do, we'll give kind of like our base impressions, that type of thing. Talk about like what worked for the movie, what didn't work for the movie, if there's anything. Then we'll go into spoiler territory, so that way we can say like skip to this time code or whatever. And then maybe at the end kind of come back and give our, recommendations, that sort of thing. Overall, what did you think?
I thought it was amazing. It was a great ride. Really harkened back to those Saturday afternoon monster movies. A lot of energy, a lot of just overarching power. It was just a powerful movie. Scale is what I would use. I loved actually seeing the ant view as Godzilla was going through Hong Kong.
Well, and just one big complaint that we've had from like the previous movies and stuff is like, in King of the Monsters where you've got him fighting Ghidorah and stuff in Antarctica, it's snowing, it's nighttime, there's
Boston,
rain or whatever. This time you actually get to see them fighting in broad daylight, nice sunny skies.
Even the night scene in Hong Kong was crystal clear due to all the fluorescent bulbs in Hong Kong.
I remember at one point in time in the movie thinking like I would love to have a time machine and go back to like the 60s and 70s when the Godzilla movies were huge and show them one of these movies.
Oh man.
Just to see if I could convince them that it was real.
Like I said, it was a great ride. It really was. A lot of scale, a lot of power. This was definitely, though, a Kong movie. It
Very
was a
much
Kong
so.
Central
Very
movie.
much. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, you had Godzilla, then you had Skull Island, then you had Godzilla King of the Monsters, so that's 2 for Godzilla. You've seen the trailers and stuff, so, Godzilla's attacking people and we don't know why. So Godzilla is kind of portrayed as the villain. There's a reason for it.
Yes.
And you find out what that is fairly early on, very early on.
Yeah.
But yes, so Kong is sort of the hero of this movie. So like one thing that I really noticed was like the thing that you run into with these movies. I always called it the Transformers effect, where it was like, here's the Sam Witwicky movie, and oh yeah, there's also Transformers.
Yeah.
You run into that a lot with these two, where it's a Godzilla versus Kong, but we spend more time with humans than we do with the monsters. That is the same thing here, but I was kind of joking out in the parking lot at the theater. I was like, I know that there was one point in the movie where I realized, we're seeing Kong quite a bit. We don't see a lot of Godzilla, except for like the big fight scenes and stuff. We see a lot of Kong, but even when he's on screen, it's like, this is very much a people movie.
Yeah, it's a people-esque movie.
But even when I realized, at the same moment that I realized that, I also realized, and I don't mind at all.
No, for it not having just this meat and potatoes story, it actually was a decent human story.
It was. So you kind of have 2 stories going on during the movie. So you've got the, I can never remember that actress's name, but the main actress that's been studying Kong. You see the little girl in the trailer, she's protecting her. And then the scientist man, you've got their story where they're bringing Kong, over to help them out. And then you've got this B story that's got Millie Bobby Brown and the kid that was the fire starter kid from Deadpool 2. So you get their little adventure going on. If I had a downside to this movie, I would say it's that B plot.
think the B plot was kind of thin.
Not that it was bad. It wasn't bad. It was a little hokey. It reminded me a lot of a movie from like the 90s, honestly.
Oh yeah. A lot of just
cheese. A lot of cheese.
How they solve a problem, and just how we were commenting during the show. It's like they had the normal villain trope.
Yes.
If security was that easy, I can see why they broke in.
Right. Like there's a scene in particular, and this isn't a spoiler thing because it's a very nonchalant scene, but like they come up out of this kind of hatch in the floor. And there's just two glass doors right in front of them. You've got security guard, bunch of guys working, and then a woman that they even point out has villain hair. They flat out say that she does. Just glass in front of them. They're in plain sight, and they're just like, well, let me climb on out of this thing.
I gotta go do this thing now.
Let me go ahead and lock the doors while I'm over here. And you're just doing all this stuff, start messing around with computers and whatever, and plain sight of everybody. So that B story was not bad, and it actually was a lot of fun, but it was the closest thing to a downside that I could find nitpicking the movie just because of the cheese factor that was involved with it.
Yeah, there were a lot of tropes that B side of the story went through and did, and it was okay. It made sense for the movie. You know, you had to push the story forward at some point, and they did a fairly decent job of doing it when it needed to break away from Kong, when you saw too much of Kong.
Yeah, and their specific adventure was to set up another thing in the movie. Which, I guess, speaking to which, do we want to go ahead and get into?
Might as well.
We might as well.
Just jump in. It's time.
So if you want to know our recommendation stuff, jump to this time code. Otherwise, spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. Spoiler warning now. Yes, the B story is specifically to set up Mechagodzilla.
It is, yeah.
I guess actually I said before that was kind of my one downside. If I really had to nitpick, I wasn't crazy about the design of Mechagodzilla.
No, I agree. That's a very, as you pointed out, it's very Transformer-ish.
It looked very Transformer.
They could have done better. I understand Legendary wanted to do something different that didn't look classic.
Well, I mean, in the classic, let's face it, it's as iconic as the classic Mechagodzilla is. It's very cheesy looking. But I mean, there's been some fan art and stuff that's been floating around. I mean, this picture you're seeing on screen right now, that picture's been floating around forever. That is freaking awesome.
Or we could even go even further and say that the Mechagodzilla from Ready Player One was really nice too.
Yes, which very similar actually to the concept art I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or fan art rather. So yes, our movie starts off with Kong, and it looks like he's just kind of going through a normal day's routine. He's kind of walking around, a lot of that type of thing. Kong makes that type of noise a lot during the movie. We are introduced to the little girl. She's deaf and she communicates with Kong. You find out later on in the movie that Kong knows sign language, so Kong can talk.
Kong can talk.
Did the monkey just talk?
Which is awesome. You see the scene where he's stripping the tree and throwing it, and there's like a kind of force field sort of thing. They actually have him in a containment unit on Skull Island. Right away mention the fact that he's getting too big to fit in there. He's much bigger than he was.
Much bigger than he was in Skull Island.
Oh god, yeah. There's a scene later on in the big fight scene in Hong Kong where he's going swinging across the buildings and stuff, and that was probably the moment where you get the best look at exactly how big he is.
No, he was huge.
Oh dear Lord.
Do not go into this movie expecting any kind of scientific physics whatsoever. No. Suspend your disbelief and enjoy it for what it is.
Yes. So the whole reason why they need to take Kong away from Skull Island, it's not, let's bring him over to fight Godzilla. In fact, that's why they're keeping him contained in this thing, is because if they take him out, Godzilla will come hunting for him. Basically, there's the Hollow Earth thing that we've been introduced to in the previous films. They believe that there is some sort of energy, life force type of thing that comes from the Hollow Earth that sort of gives life to all the Titans. And they want to harness that energy to power the Mechagodzilla. You don't find out why they need it until much later in the film. But these guys at Apex Cybernetics, they want it to power their mech.
Imagine that, an evil villain wanting this unlimited power source.
Right. And right away, Godzilla attacks the Apex Cybernetics base. So we kind of find out that Godzilla, the reason why Godzilla is attacking people is, well, you're building a Titan, and that's a big no-no.
Yeah, you can't do that. Not on my watch.
You notice how I go off and kill other Titans and stuff because I'm the king. Well, you're building one now, so that kind of puts you in my territory, and you don't do that.
Speaking of that, it was really good to see the classic Godzilla ravaging the cities. It just felt right. You see it. Yeah, he destroyed San Francisco, and they destroyed
I was going to say that all of the stuff all the city destruction that we've seen in the previous films has just been a consequence of
collateral
monsters
damage.
fighting.
Yeah, collateral damage.
But this is the first time in these movies where you get just monster comes in and just starts wrecking stuff.
Oh, that first scene when he comes in Pensacola.
Beautiful.
Just beautiful. I mean, larger than life.
Yes.
Just the way he comes in, and you get a really cool sense of scale with the little Coast Guard boat. And next thing you know, these huge fins come up, his back dorsal plates. It was good.
And then so they take Kong and they're bringing him out. The plan is to take him to Antarctica to bring him down into the Hollow Earth. The guys from Apex that are building the mech, well, they also have built these machines, these flying machines that are capable of actually entering the Hollow Earth.
Suspend disbelief here.
That's where you need to do that because it gets funky.
It gets kind of 2001-ish.
Very for
2001-ish as they go into the Hollow Earth.
So the only time we've really seen the Hollow Earth was in King of the Monsters, where they go down and you see all the radiation and stuff, kind of Godzilla's home. Well, this is not that. This is just Hollow Earth in general. That was all under the water and whatever. This is just the middle of the Earth. There's a whole other world.
Jules Verne-ish type. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. It kind of reminded me, parts of it anyway, reminded me about like Pandora from Avatar and stuff.
Yeah, that would.
But if you can imagine an Earth, like mountains and stuff, and other mountains doing this, like facing down and one facing up, and gravity just flips kind of in the middle. Well, that's where these flying machines come into play, because before, if we were to try to enter that, it would just smash you, the entire Earth's gravity at once. So they've built these machines that will fly down there. So the whole idea is to bring Kong to Antarctica, get him down there, we'll follow him down, and I love that, like, on the boat ride over, they throw in this line of, like, because I was even thinking at the moment that they did this, well, why isn't Godzilla just attacking right away? Mm-hmm. Well, we made sure that we're staying out of all of his known paths. Yeah, but of course Godzilla does find him, and that's where you get that big fight scene.
Fight scene is just how that aircraft carrier. One, how did it support Kong's weight when he jumped?
Yeah.
Two, how did it just survive both of them? And that was, the water fight between the two was probably the worst. But you're underwater, kind of murky, but it's awesome. Still awesome. It's very, very awesome.
When we say worst, it's worst of the best.
Yeah.
Because all of the fight scenes in this movie you take all the fight scenes from the previous films, and it's arguable if these do not completely, just toss them right out of the park.
I think so. I think without question that these are some of the best. I can keep going back and saying these are classic fights. If the 60s could have done this kind of stuff, they would have.
Yeah. I mean, if for no other reason than the fact you could see them.
Yeah.
You can see them. It's in daylight. It's not raining. It's not cloudy. It's perfectly lit. Long story short, they get Kong down there. You find out that they, Kongs and Godzillas have had battles in the past, this long waged war between them. That's where this axe comes into play. There's actually a whole bunch of those axes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was a moment where Dee actually asked me, are they implying that they are aliens?
Well, yeah, you get down into Kong's throne room, I guess you want to call it.
It sort of like a castle.
It looks like a castle under in this giant cave.
Yeah.
But it's very pulsing columns. And it's squared
There's a lot
off,
of blue light that glows.
A lot of blue light, yeah.
A lot of blue light that glows like within the rocks. So yes, it did look very otherworldly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was supposed to be the implication or if it was just this is how things are in the Hollow Earth or what. But yeah, you put this axe in this shape in the ground and then the whole ground starts glowing, and it's basically the axe is made out of like a bone and one of Godzilla's spines. Not
the
Godzilla,
current Godzilla, no.
but a Godzilla from the past. But right about the time that he powers that up, Godzilla shows up in Hong Kong, which also happens to be where they're powering up Mechagodzilla at the same time. Yeah, Godzilla just makes a new opening to the Hollow Earth right there in the...
He senses something, just exhales this... probably the most powerful weapon you can get on film right now. So much so that it tunnels through to the Hollow Earth.
From the ground of Hong Kong all the way to the center of the Earth.
Yep. And then the exchange between Kong and Godzilla through this long tunnel.
Oh, yeah. You just see Godzilla looking down, Kong looking up, just like, bring it on. And we both of us, my daughter was with us. You remember, Duder, you've met her before, but it was, so we're in the nice seats. The big reclining seats, that they have. And I noticed that about that time, she actually had turned around in the seat with her feet at the back, and she's laying like this with her head resting on the footrest. And I had to nudge him. I'm like, take a look. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was awesome to see that she was so into it. But yeah.
She kept scooting towards the edge of her seat through the whole movie, which was good to see. But yeah, I mean, just... and then that sets up the climactic battle.
Oh, yeah. That is, here it comes.
Meat and potatoes, here it comes. This is what we've been waiting for. Act 3 starts. Kong makes his way into Hong Kong, and the throwdown begins.
My God. So, back... rewinding for a second, when they fight on the aircraft carrier, Godzilla just mops the floor with King Kong. Almost drowns him. And it's actually the military that kind of steps up and releases him, basically.
Deus Machina. They got rid of Godzilla.
Basically, Godzilla's got him wrapped up in his tail, and he's just dragging him to the bottom of the ocean because, well, he can't breathe underwater. Yeah. So they drop a bunch of depth charges, just enough to let him to let go. Kong comes back up, gets back on the boat, and passes out. So they're like, shut everything off. Maybe Godzilla will think we're dead, and he'll leave us alone, and it works. So this time around, round 2 goes to Kong.
Yeah.
He's got the axe. He's using it against him. You see the scene where he, blocks the breath with the axe and whatnot. So Godzilla gets a taste of his own medicine for change, which was awesome. A few minutes later, Godzilla wakes up. Time for round 3. We go right into round 3.
There's no wait. It's Kong's exhausted. He's slumped down. Godzilla just kind of gets up, brushes off does that brush off, and it just is ready to go again.
Just that whole shake his head and then the
Yep.
Here we go. And right as Godzilla has got Kong defeated, I mean, he's got him down, he's got him pinned down with his foot, he's got him all clawed up and everything. About this time, the eyes are starting to glow, the guy's starting up the Mechagodzilla. Time to show, what's going on. Well, maybe we should explain how Mechagodzilla works before we go into what happens next.
Okay, so Mechagodzilla operates, at least in this movie, through a telepathic bond with a human. But what they don't tell you until about midway through the movie, that they're powering Mechagodzilla through King Ghidorah's brain.
If you remember the after credit scene from King of the Monsters, they found the head of King Ghidorah. Well, they mentioned the fact that there, of course, were 3 heads and that they communicated telepathically. Well, one was destroyed completely by Godzilla. One was found by, what's his name? Charles Dance at the end of King of the Monsters. We never saw what happened to the 3rd one. Well, they've got one skull with the link that the human wears to run the Mechagodzilla. The 2nd skull is actually in the head of Mechagodzilla.
And I thought it was a really cool throwback to King of the Monsters because you knew that something was going to happen because as they were powering Mechagodzilla up for the final time, you heard King Ghidorah in the background. I don't know if you caught that.
I did not
but you actually heard his bibbidides. And that's actually a word. It's B-I-D-D-I-B-B-I-D-I. Bibbidi. The little cackle call that he does, you could hear him as he's powering up, and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Because exactly what you think is going to happen is exactly what happens. As soon as they power it up with the full power that they harnessed from the Hollow Earth, Ghidorah's like, yeah, screw that, I'm taking over.
Yep.
And he short circuits the thing. The guy that's running it gets completely fried, and Ghidorah, or now Mechagodzilla, just starts going nuts. He starts attacking people, attacking whatever, and the main fight begins.
Oh.
So,
such a good fight.
Oh God! So originally you've got Godzilla and Mecha fighting. Kong is still out cold over here. He's actually dying. The little girl can feel, she's deaf, but she can feel his heartbeat. In one of those suspend your disbelief moments, when they're talking about the underground ships that they've built to get to the Hollow Earth, they mentioned that there's enough electricity running through them to power Las Vegas for 2 weeks or something like that. So they're like, his heart's slowing down, he's dying.
We can't do anything about it.
We're gonna need a shock big enough. You mean a shock big enough to power Las Vegas? We just so happen to have one.
Gee, we just insert plot device.
But of course, so they shock him by kind of short-circuiting the flying machine. That acts like a shot of adrenaline. He wakes up. The little girl's like, Godzilla's not your enemy.
Yeah.
That's the enemy. And Godzilla's like, I don't know. I don't believe you. She's like, trust me. Look at the thing.
Look at the thing.
So Godzilla, or Kong rather, picks up his axe, and
there we go. Yep.
Final confrontation, 2 against 1, and even that is going well for a moment.
It was a very, very well done fight.
Yes.
Super choreographed. These are all mocap. This was all mostly mocap, so it was wonderfully choreographed.
Which I love the fact that they're mocap, just because it is sort of like modern day homage to the guy in the rubber
old
suit.
Suitmation, yeah.
Mecha's got all these weapons and stuff, so he's easily defeating both of them. Well, Kong is just sitting there whacking at him with this axe, and it's not doing anything. Godzilla, meanwhile, is like down on the ground, being held down by Mecha. So Godzilla looks up, and he's just like, I got you, bro. Atomic blast to the axe.
Charges it up.
Whack!
Smackdown begins, and it was like we said at the beginning, this was Kong's movie. So it was really nice to see that, and I don't know if it was intentional by Legendary or Warner Brothers, but there was this passing of the torch type feel to it at the end. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you this one.
See, that's what it felt like to me. It wasn't so much a like, you're okay, I'm gonna let you live sort of thing. It was like, I'm gonna let you go for now.
Yeah.
What happens tomorrow? No guarantees. But for right now, we're cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna go. Because they kind of like roar at each other. Godzilla gives him the I'm still the boss. Kong does it right back. So Godzilla's like, alright, cool.
Yep.
just kind of
takes off and goes, disappears underneath the waves of the Pacific again, and we're good, and we cut back to them studying Kong and the Hollow Earth, and that's where we wrap it up.
And then, unfortunately, there is no after credit scene. I was actually reading on this. They said that they did film an after credit scene, but then once they got into editing, they realized that it actually would work in the movie. So while we don't know what it is and they wouldn't say what it was, there was an after credit scene. It's just now part of the movie.
Part of me wants to feel it was the very last scene with Kong in
the Hollow Earth thing. It could
It kind of had that feel like, yeah, okay, so we make a leap and it would be justified in the movie to kind of wrap up that arc, but it also had that this would be where we're going to continue the next story bouncing off the next point.
Yeah, because they said there were 2 reasons why they didn't include one. That was the first one. The second reason was we just didn't have anything, when we did the other movies, it was because we had something to tease. This time around, we didn't have anything to tease. Yet.
It all is going to depend upon the box office draw here.
Yes.
Whether or not we get another Kong or even a Godzilla movie from Warner Brothers and Legendary.
King of the Monsters did not do as well as they had hoped in the theaters, and I mean, it did all right, but it didn't do as well as they had hoped. And at one point in time, they said that if Godzilla vs. Kong wasn't already so far into production, it may not have happened.
It may not have released, yeah.
So it is very much riding on, we'll see how this one does. So hopefully it does well enough.
Hopefully people are going to get off their butts and go to what theaters are open. Get out to your theater. We saw it in IMAX.
Oh my God.
That's really honestly
if you're going to see it in the theater, get to an IMAX.
It's the biggest screen, the loudest speakers possible is how you need to see this movie.
And if you are, and totally understandably, if you are someone who's not comfortable, being around that many people, I know we were the first ones to buy tickets for this was the first showing at all here in Branson, and we were the first ones to buy tickets for it. It was fairly full. I mean, they are still doing like the social distancing.
There were definitely pockets of people, but I would say that was probably, even with social distancing, I'd say that was easily 2/3.
At least 2/3. That's about what I was going to say too.
That.
And I know that the rest of the showings for the day are sold out.
Yeah.
So it's doing well here, but if you are someone who's not comfortable getting out into the theater, it's also on HBO Max. Mm-hmm. I will probably watch this movie again today. Just saying.
Yeah, I will probably go and watch it someplace else. I know there's a few theaters in Ozark. There's a theater in Ozark playing it. I may go see it Saturday night.
Hey, give me a shout. I might join you. Seriously.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, impressions. What were your impressions?
So, yes, final impressions. Final impressions, I would say I have loved every single one of the MonsterVerse movies. Even the 2014 Godzilla, which, let's face it, I mean, he was on screen for, 18 minutes, I think? Something like that. Not much in a 2.5 hour long movie almost. This is the shortest of the MonsterVerse movies, and hands down, the best.
Yeah.
In my opinion, of the MonsterVerse movies. It was beautifully shot. It was the special effects are, top notch.
They really let the fact that 2020 pretty much didn't exist to get in there and polish that movie.
It looks almost completely flawless. So, final thoughts on that. Best one so far. Absolute would recommend to see it in the IMAX if you can. If you can't, see it in a theater. If you can't, settle for HBO Max, but keep trying to get to the theater.
Garrett Edwards, he made a good period piece. Michael Dougherty, 120% fan service with his movie. Wingard, he just came in and said, this is what this movie is going to be, and I'm not going to try to make it anything else. It's about two big monsters kicking the teeth out of each other, and that's exactly what it was.
Absolutely.
I cannot agree with Shpoo more. See it in the theaters, biggest screen, best sound possible. If you can't, big screen, surround sound on HBO Max. Support this movie. It's tried and true to me. I love this stuff, and I grew up watching the old 60s and 70s movies on VHS, and I don't want this to end, but if this was the capstone piece, then I can safely say I would be okay with it.
Yes.
If nothing else gets done, it's a good send-off point. Neither monster died.
Which, speaking of which, that is a minor spoiler there, but there was rumors going around early on, and it wasn't so much a rumor as it was
It was on the poster.
There was a leak. But so when Warner Brothers and Legendary got the rights to do an American Godzilla movie from Toho, the one stipulation that Toho had was Godzilla is not allowed to die unless he has a son. And there was a list of Funko products that are set to release, and on this list of Funko products there was one listed as Godzilla Young.
Yeah.
So that got everyone thinking that Godzilla would die and that a young Godzilla will have been born somewhere. That does not happen. And I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that. But yes. Yeah, absolutely recommend it. Go see it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And
many times as you want.
Oh my God, yes. I can't wait to see it again.
Well, wraps it up again.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do this a little more often.
I think we might. I hear there's we saw a nice fight today, but I hear that there's another fight coming out in a couple of weeks that might be worth checking out.
Big tournament?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can.
I can just picture that whenever the movie starts, I can just totally picture a guy yelling, "It has begun!" So yeah, you never know. But like I said, we will be doing this from time to time, and hopefully more often than not. But we're, like we said, we're still in the early talking points of that. As far as everything else is concerned, I know we've been on a little bit of a break here, and I haven't addressed that, even though I keep saying I'm going to. If you must know what happened, basically we were a good week or two. We try to shoot things a week or two in advance, just to keep ahead with editing, especially when doing 5 days a week, that type of thing. And we were actually right in the middle of shooting our Tuesday show, the series of enigmatic events. We had shot a couple of episodes, and we were about to shoot another week's worth of episodes, and actually got the call from him that a good friend of ours and actually member of the Skallywag family, if you go back and watch some of the old like the Riddler videos and stuff, he always played Lex Luthor.
Let's go have some fun.
But our good friend Skylar passed away. And it hit me really hard, so I took a little time off from shooting. And once you kind of get into a bit of a funk and you stop doing a thing that you're used to doing, it's really hard to get back into the habit of doing it. So it was going to be a week, and then that turned into 2 weeks, and then that turned into 3 weeks, and then here we are, the first video back. So I just wanted to address that, and just to say that thank you for everybody who has given well wishes, and my love goes out to Sky's family and anybody else out there who knew him. So Sky, we love you, we miss you, and honestly, it silver lining is it was that actually got us back to talking about this again. Yeah. So if there is a good thing to come of it, let this be it. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And Mortal Kombat is the thing we're talking about. Comes out in a couple of weeks, so I think we're planning. Don't quote me on this, but anything could happen between now and then. But the plan is for that to be our next review. So subscribe so you don't miss out on that. We are going to get back into the other videos as well, but we are going away from the 5 day a week format and going back to the 3 day a week format, just because 5 days was insane amounts of sitting in a computer clicking away for hours at a time. So it'll be mindless dribbles on Monday. Wednesdays will be the series of enigmatic events, and then Friday will be kind of an alternating anything goes sort of day. So we'll cycle through the other shows on that day. So subscribe, like, share, all those wonderful things. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us as well, always. And we'll see you on the next one.